So in 2019, something really cool happened in Ghana. The Year of Return initiative saw Ghana come up with some new real estate ideas. The goal was to get people of African descent from all over the world to come back to Ghana, and it had a big impact on a bunch of industries, including real estate. Suddenly, there were more and more people of African descent, especially from the diaspora, investing in Ghana's real estate market. This led to more properties being built and sold, and a boost in the whole economy. It was a win-win for all. The period was widely considered to be the golden era for real estate in Ghana. Luxury apartments and condos were being constructed at a rapid pace in anticipation of the growth of tourism in the country. What many people were not aware of at the time was that the industry was about to face significant challenges. These challenges would blindside the industry and lead to difficulties for developers and investors alike. So, what happened? So things have been moving kind of slow in the real estate industry in Ghana lately, if you've noticed. A lot of projects are taking way longer to get to completion than advertised. It's quite common for developments to experience some level of delay, but the extent to which is currently being witnessed in the industry is unusual. This is a dead giveaway that the whole world's problems is affected the industry. Over the past 3 years, the world has witnessed a surge in media coverage of the terms related to global supply chains.
Global supply chains.
The global supply chain is struggling.
All the media attention just shows how important this concept is to the global economy. So, what exactly is the supply chain? The easiest way to understand it is by defining it as an intricate system made up of different players that work together to get products to you, the consumer. Now, within this definition, there are several stages such as procurement, production, logistics, distribution, that include a diverse range of participants, including suppliers, manufacturers, wholesalers, retailers, and customers. But for the context of this video, we're going to focus on the central actors, specifically manufacturers, distributors, retailers, and the end consumer. Now, who are these guys? Let's break down the supply chain, starting with the people that make the stuff that we all want, manufacturers. They're in charge of creating and producing products like kitchens, lights, tiles, doors, and windows, and all the finished products. They're basically the source of everything that ends up in our homes. Next up, we've got the distributors. They're the middlemen who get the goods from the manufacturers and distribute them to the retailers. And finally, we have the retailers. They make the goods available to the end consumer, whether it be the individual customer or the developer. They act as a bridge between the manufacturer and the consumer. Note that some entities, through backward and forward integration, own the entire supply chain process. Arguable examples are Apple and Tesla. Okay, so here's the deal. The relationship between all of these different players is super complicated, and it only gets crazier when you look at one product, like the device you're watching this video on right now. Chances are that it was put together in China because labor is cheap. But some of the materials used in it, like cobalt and coltan for the semiconductors, come from the DRC, and those semiconductors along with other parts are made in Taiwan. The device then gets assembled and sold to a distributor who sells it to a retailer who finally ships to you. It shows you how complicated the supply chain can get when products come from all over the world. Now, developing construction projects in Ghana can be a challenge because of the lack of local industrial production. Can you imagine building a house and not being able to find the kitchen appliances that you need? That's the reality of most developers in Ghana. They have to import about 70% of all the finishing materials, like cooktops, ovens, and cabinetry. And to make things even more complicated, they have to make sure that all these materials arrive at the right time to match the construction schedule. If kitchen appliances arrive before the cabinetry, then they have to find a place to store them, which adds extra cost. All of this makes the development process a little bit more tricky. The need to import these materials and synchronize their arrival with the construction schedule adds an extra layer of complexity to the development process. You see, the crazy thing about the global supply chain is that it's like a house of cards. It can be brought down by anything unexpected, like natural disasters or pandemics. This can result in millions of containers being delayed past their expected arrival times, leading to increased costs for warehouse storage and heightened demand for these facilities. That's what happened with the COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic caused limited staffing and decreased productivity, leading to delays in delivery for goods and increased the cost for businesses, which were ultimately passed on to the end consumer. You know, COVID has definitely shaken up things in the global supply chain. All those carefully planned delivery schedules have gone out the window, and it's causing serious headaches. Ports were shut down worldwide, and this threw a wrench into the works. Ships had to scramble for alternative docking and transit options, which led to longer nautical miles, higher costs, and major delays in the delivery of goods. And it's not just COVID that's causing all the problems. Remember the time the Ever Given cargo ship blocked the Suez Canal back in 2021? Yeah, that was a real eye-opener for everyone. The Suez Canal is a crucial trade route that carries 12% of the world's trade. When it was blocked for 6 days, it was estimated to cost the world trade $6.7 million per minute. Crazy, right? This serves as a stark reminder of the importance of a smooth functioning supply chain and its impact on the global economy. COVID-19 has really jacked up transportation costs. Shipping by ocean has gone up by a whopping 5 times, ground shipping is up by 50%, and air freight has seen a 15% hike. These rising transportation costs are causing a headache for the real estate industry. As project costs are soaring beyond initial estimates, developers are left with some tough choices, like should they absorb the extra cost, find ways to adjust their budget structures, or compromise on promised specifications, or pass the cost on to the buyers. Now, here's a pro tip. Most prudent developers adopt a combination of these strategies in response to the situation. Now, Russia and Ukraine. The ongoing tension between Russia and Ukraine has been heavily featured in international news in recent times. Ukraine is one of the largest steel exporters, which is a vital component in the building construction industry. Steel forms the reinforcement for a building's skeletal structure. The Russia and Ukraine military conflict has caused a disruption in the steel production, driving up prices of steel and lowering the global supply. It's not just steel. The conflict has also affected energy costs in Europe. Russia is a major supplier of natural gas to Europe, and the disruption in the supply has caused general increases in energy prices. These rising costs for energy, steel, and transportation have made it more expensive for developers to import materials. The ongoing tension in Russia and Ukraine has not only created chaos in the steel production industry and driven up energy costs, but it's also causing a problem through the use of economic sanctions. Now, economic sanctions are a way for a country to put pressure on others by limiting trade and financial transactions. The aim is to cripple the country's economy and force a change in behavior or policy. Unfortunately, the global economy is so interconnected that these sanctions have far-reaching consequences, hurting not only the targeted country, but also others that trade with it. Developing countries in particular rely heavily on imports from sanctioned countries, and it can take years for them to recover from the effects of the sanctions. You know, thinking about it, if Russia is banned from exporting, it will probably restrict imports from other countries too. It could even go as far where they ban countries from using their airspace or international waters as retaliation. That would mean longer routes for ships and flights, and even adding more headaches to the already challenging supply chain and transportation situation. And speaking of challenges, 2022 and 2023 has been and continues to be a tough year for Ghana. We're facing some major economic difficulties, and one of the main culprits is the depreciation of our currency, which has fallen by over 50% since January 2022. This is mainly due to poor fiscal policy and economic mismanagement by our government. Ghana's economy is highly dependent on imports, so it's closely tied to the global currency, the US dollar. This means that any changes in the value of the dollar can have a big impact on our economy, making it tough for businesses to plan and operate. Not to mention buyers and builders in the real estate industry. If you're in the middle of building or buying a property, you might have felt the effects of the economic difficulties in Ghana. With the devaluation of the currency, it could mean paying twice or even more than what you originally budgeted for. That's got to be tough, especially if you're already locked into a contract and now have to deal with extra financial pressure. As a real estate stakeholder, this is what I want you to take away from this video. 1. It is vital to acknowledge that external events can influence our investments over which we have limited control. Acknowledging the reality provides us with greater leverage in the decision-making process. By being mindful of the potential impacts of external events, we can make informed choices that minimize the risk and increase the chances of a successful investment. Another tip is to include penalty clauses in the contract. This can hold the developer or builder accountable for meeting deadlines, safeguarding their investments, and protecting the investor's interests. But it's important to remember that not all risk can be controlled, and unpredictable events could trigger the force majeure clause that protects the developer or the builder or whoever you've entered the contract with. 3. Account for delays. If you've watched my previous video, you'll know more about this. I'll link it in the description below. During the development phase, investors should plan for possible delays and have contingency plans in place for unforeseen circumstances. For instance, don't expect a project to be completed as advertised when you've taken out a mortgage or a financial instrument and are relying on rental income to cover the payments, just to discover that there's a further 6 months delay that has left you in a precarious financial state with payment commitments. I learned my lesson the hard way. Do better than I did. It is important for investors to select a developer with a proven track record of delivering projects on time and on budget, and is known for effectively managing risk and challenges. By being thorough and diligent about this, you maximize the chances of making a sound investment and reducing the likelihood of substantial losses. And last, don't forget to diversify your portfolio by investing in different types of properties, locations, and other markets. This will help you spread out your risk associated with one particular investment. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Now, this brings us to the end of the video. If you found this video valuable, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel for more content. Let's continue the discussion in the comment section below by sharing your thoughts on the topic. Don't forget to share the video with your friends and family, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next one.